Hello, everybody, and welcome to Stay Woke or Not. We are at Woke Wellness Wednesday, episode 10. Right now, 9? Is it episode 9?
It's episode
okay,
9.
episode 9. So, oh my God, that's so bizarre. My friend's apartment number is 9.
And it's the 9th month. Okay, we're in September now. And it's both of our birthday months, isn't it?
Yeah, my birthday's in 9 days from today.
Cool. Mine is in 11 days.
Okay. What are you going to do for your birthday?
Girl, I have no idea. I have honestly just not really been focused on that. And you know what happens is I always just end up doing something fun. I always end up having a good time. Last year, it was kind of a weird. Were you at my birthday party last year at the Can place? Did you come to that? I don't know. No, you didn't. I was just.
I didn't know
my birthday party
know.
last year was a bit of a fiasco, and I guess sometimes I don't want to say it was bad, but it wasn't. Let's just put it this way: I had a party and I was late to my own party by like multiple hours. And it was on Abbot Kinney in Venice Beach.
God.
It was kind of a thing because Steven went to Mexico that day. Oh my God, this is not what I wanted to start it with, but I think it's so funny that we're talking about our birthdays. And for everyone out there that's tuning in, this is our first show in like over a month or so with you and I know you did that round table, but we haven't done a show in like a month. And I felt like it was my intention with asking you to do the show today was to catch up with you as a friend. And because it's interesting, I feel like this is kind of our friendship now. It's like we just talk about our lives on this show. And I wanted to share with you a little bit about my adventures, and I wanted to hear about yours. What have you been doing?
I've been doing a decent amount of traveling. I am new to the whole couch surfing world. I didn't really know much about it or anything like that. And so I am definitely trying to get over my car accident, being in a car with people. And
okay, wait, hold up, because no one knows about your car accident. So let's back up, because that was the whole thing. So for those of you who don't know about this, because obviously most people out there don't, Dahlia, the last week that it was like the week for us to go on Wednesday, I was like, hey, Dahlia, it was Monday, right? And I texted Dahlia, like, are we going live this week? And Dahlia said, I just got into a car accident. And I was like, okay, you need to take a week off. And you were like, no, I want to do the show. And then the next day you were like, I think I need to take the day off. So tell everybody about your car accident. I want to know about this.
Oh man.
I think we need to educate with.
I could use some words of wisdom or, maybe a new perspective on it. But long story short, maybe I was trying to do way too much in a short period of time. But so hello, welcome to the stream. We're just talking about recent life activities. But as I was saying, so back to me. So with the car accident, so Jaron and I, he helped me move my entire storage unit. And then I decided to take it to my best friend Ingrid's house. I was like, you know what? Stuff comes and goes. I'm going to give her my stuff. And I really don't know where I want to be or any of that yet. So here's my goodies. So we dropped it off at her house. And then the next day we had an acting scene together. And then we had a trading event. So I'm learning how to day trade right now, which is really cool and exciting. All from your phone and your laptop. So you can just be wherever, which is really cool. And that's the world we live in. So I went to that event. And then also in the middle of acting, we were all doing a scene, me, Jenna, and Jaron. And then she stops filming and she goes and says, holy shit, her friend got COVID. And I was like, what? Oh my God. And then I started panicking and then he started panicking. And then I was like, it was funny because I forgot that I took my antibiotics. And then my mouth was really dry. And I was like, oh my God, I think I got it. Ah.
So you're bringing up something really, that's actually a really big thing that I wanted to talk about today, which is this whole, like, if you get sick or have any symptoms of anything, you're in this panic freak out thinking you have COVID. And this is actually a major topic I wanted to talk about today for Woke Wellness Wednesdays, because over the last month, I have been traveling and doing a bunch of camping trips. And it's been incredibly smoky and hazy, both in California and in Colorado where I am. And we should talk about that. And so I've been camping and having fun and drinking and partying with my friends. And I've been exposed to this horrible air quality. Like, I literally open up my weather app on my phone, and it usually says, instead of telling me like sunny, or here in Colorado, the last couple of weeks, I open up my weather app, it says unhealthy air quality. Like basically, instead of sunny, it's like the air sucks. Don't go outside. So it's been interesting.
My car, like, it's everywhere.
And so, but getting back to, so I want to talk more about the air quality and lung conditions and just feeling like symptoms. But I wanted to also bring up this joke related to this topic that my mom told me, right? So my mom and I were talking about this, and we were like, Mom, like, when you look at the symptoms of COVID, it's like the symptoms of any time you've ever been sick in your entire life. Sneezy, cough, all these symptoms. And so, my mom and I were joking. She said, I think I've had COVID my whole life, because I've had allergies my whole life.
Yeah.
And so to be sneezing and coughing, especially when the air quality is horrible, it's like, it's hard not to freak out and have extra anxiety thinking you have COVID, when it may just be your body's normal reaction to its environment. But going back to your car accident, right? So your friend thought she had COVID, or your friend got COVID.
So this is all like premising before the stuff. So it was like, we moved to U-Haul, like, we did all this stuff. Then the next day, we're in the middle of an acting scene. And I guess instinctively I was like, I don't think we're going to finish today. I didn't. And then I guess, like, I'm like, trying to get Jenna more into acting. So this was like her part. She was going to be the sexy chick in red. And then Jaron was going to be the one who, like, failed at his pickup lines. And we're going outside. She gets the message. And then I start panicking. And then she starts panicking. And then we're like, okay, we got to quit. So, like, before I went to the next thing, I was like, okay, Jaron, let's take some time. Let me try to, see if I'm kind of nervous to even being in a room full of people at this point. So we go to the event anyway. I have a huge blowout with my friend Mike. Huge blowout, because he wanted to go to Big Bear. And then I was like, we're going late at night. I don't think it would be wise for you to go to Big Bear with, one car. Anyways. So I'm trying to, like, play it back to change well, you know what I mean? So we set aside to take Jaron's Tesla to Big Bear to see Brandon. He was part of the last episode. So we went to go see his set, and then we went all the way to Big Bear in his Tesla. I was kind of nervous because it's a low profile car, and, like, there's, like, dirt and terrain. But anyways, so we get up in there. Jaron has never put up a tent in his life. I'm like, you're 26. How's that even possible? How's that even possible, dude? Awesome. So then he's like, I'm sorry, I've only ever gone glamping. So anyways, now it's like 5, 6 in the morning, and I see that Brandon is, like, sleeping. And to this day, I'm like, man, I wish I woke him up. I wish I woke up Brandon, and then the next part wouldn't have happened. But nonetheless, anyways, so now we have to go to San Diego. I was already in his car, so I said, yeah, sure, I'll go to San Diego. But let's just put it this way. Here's North Hollywood. Here's Big Bear. Here's San Diego. You know what I mean? It's like, why am I even going? No one knows. So I go to San Diego. At this point, he's taking care of the dog. And then the Lyft driver, we call the Lyft driver ahead of time, and we're like, hey, this is a long ride. Will you be able to take it? And he's like, yeah, sure, but I might need to get gas or something. And then Sharon's like, man, this guy's trying to rip me off, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I get to the car, immediately it's dirty. It's a dirty black Ioniq Hyundai, and I was just like, I don't really like it when like Lyfts and Ubers are dirty and you're paying for the ride. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Hey, all the Lyft drivers and Uber drivers out there, if you're listening to us, please vacuum and clean yo shit, because
especially now. Yeah. So then
it's interesting too, because Lyft and Uber have been in the news, right? They were going to completely ban them. And so this is an interesting topic that's just been kind of lingering in the ethers too. But continue. Yeah. I think it's really important we talk about this, and like you can process a little bit too.
Yeah. So at this point, I go to the car. Jaren requested it. It was like $140. And in my head, I'm all like, what would have happened if I bought my own Lyft? Like, would it have even happened? I don't know. But anyways, so the dude gets out. He's extremely overweight. And he has these 2 brown circles on the back of his leg. And immediately my gut just like, poof. And because Jaren requested the ride, and I'm standing outside the car, I get in anyway. Immediately, I put on my seatbelt and then my face mask. And then because I was up all night, I fell asleep. So we're on the freeway, and it kind of feels like Requiem of a Dream, because the guy's like playing operatic music. And it's pretty much a silent
I'm like, I got like the ominous like theme music in the background going right now.
Yeah. So then it's kind of quiet, da-da-da, and something hits. It makes me think like, man, I hope we don't get in an accident. I like said that. I'm like, I fell back asleep.
You thought that thought in your head. You thought the thought about the accident is what you're confiding in. And you never shared this with me before. So this is very interesting, very entertaining for me right now. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so I was all like, man, we don't get in an accident. And then like I'm sleeping, and then I hear a thunk, and it goes doom. And then like I'm looking up, and all of a sudden he is literally, he just had his hands on the wheel, and then he went over 3 lanes, hits the middle divider, the airbags go off, and the dude just ricochets, and his head goes back. And I'm like, ugh. And then like my seatbelt hit me here, and I was like, like it was so nuts. So now we're on the I-5 headed north in Irvine. These people pull over. They're like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Then these like people come in. She says, I'm a nurse. Like, then she tries to do like CPR on him. His tongue went purple at some point. I checked his pulse. And then the ambulance came, and they're like, are you okay? Do you know this gentleman? Da, da, da. And I felt like I sounded like a stupid movie. I was like, I'm sleeping. And in my head, I'm like, I sound like the chick in the movie. Like, I was sleeping. I don't know what happened. You know what I mean?
Well, what's interesting is I was just watching that really funny movie with it's about these 2 guys that go and, geez, I'm gonna have to look this up. But it's in the movie. There's 2 characters. They're on a road trip. It's this really funny movie with that one. God, I can't think of either of their names right now. It'll come to me, but I think it's called like Road Trip or something like this. And one of the guys, they get into an accident, and one of the guys is fallen asleep. And apparently when you're asleep and if you're asleep in an accident, your body, you don't tense your body up, right? And when you tense your body up, that's what causes a lot of the people to get really hurt, right? So because you were asleep, it sounds like you may have not been tensing your body up in a stressed state, and it may have helped you to prevent more serious injuries that you could have sustained if you had been awake. I just want to put it out there, girl. I am so, so sorry you were in an accident. Okay. And I know it's been a little bit of time now, and I just think it's a really big deal to share with anybody online, like any kind of trauma that you've been through. And I do think that
reluctant to share, but I didn't even tell you the ending. So the ending is the ambulance comes by, and they are like, okay, we're gonna have to take you now. And then like I've never been in the back of an ambulance truck on a freeway ever in my life. So then they put like a face mask and a neck brace on me. At this point, it's hard for me to breathe. They take me away, but the ambulance, in order to get the guy out, they used the jaws of life to like pry him open. And that was just insane. And so,
and that really scared you.
They took away, and I think instinctively I knew that he didn't make it. So he is no longer with us.
Right. And so I just wanted to also just hold space for this gentleman. Do you know his name?
David.
The gentleman that passed, David.
Yeah.
I just wanted to maybe we have a moment of silence for David, your Lyft driver that passed on. And I just wanted to express my heart's highest hope that he is in a better place now, and that he is, free of the earthly troubles. There's a lot that we're dealing with here now on earth, and for whatever his soul's purpose or reason, I think there's this concept actually of the soul's departure from the earthly plane, however you want to perceive that, or whatever that is to you. I think of that's a way of kind of speaking plainly about it without getting too like, what do you believe, right? So I think most people would agree that we are a soul, and I believe that we are eternal. Personally, I believe that we are eternal souls on an eternal timeline, right? But the idea is that we're here now in a physical. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And he's no longer having his physical experience, but I do truly believe myself that his soul still lives and is very much with us. And so this is actually, it's interesting. This kind of ties into some of I've shared a little bit of my spiritual practices and things with you when we did that clearing work.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I've also done a little bit of work on like how to navigate these experiences of death and dying. And it's interesting that theme, right? I actually mentioned that this was going to be about growth and growing, but I think it's also really important to mention that, death is a natural part of life. And, this theme of this death came in for you just very bluntly, right? You were in a car accident with somebody who experienced a death of their physical body. And I just, I pray for you and for him and for everybody who, is navigating the challenges that come with that transition, right? And no matter how you see it, death, I think, is as one of the most powerful transitions. And here I am, butterfly Brielle, right? So butterflies are all about transitions, transformation, metamorphosis. And I think of death as a big part of that kind of cycle. So anyway, anything else you'd like to share about that experience?
I think it's like I'm getting over like the panic of being in a car. It kind of like flashes like, a lot more, or like the scenarios in my head just like create a lot more when I'm driving. And especially because I live in Los Angeles, that doesn't make it any better, But in order to get over it, on a bright note, I decided to go on Couch Surfers, and this guy named Imtiaz he organized a trip. So he said, we're going to go on a 5-day road trip, and he was driving, and I was all like, holy shit, let me do this. This is intense. Let's see how I handle this, So definitely like the most wild thing that I could do right now is, number one, meet up with people I've never met before. Number two, trust that they're going to be driving through Mammoth, Yosemite, and Lake Tahoe. And we were driving like 13, 14-hour days, just like checking everything out.
Girl, and you just were in a car accident. So that's a big brave thing to do right after a car accident, to get into the car with more people and to do this road trip. But do you feel okay? So, but here's my I'm a big adventurer, and after some of the most traumatic things in my life, I've done the same exact thing. I've like gone on these adventures, and I think of them as your soul's like journey. Do you feel like that was healing for you?
Yeah, it was. It was definitely like I was very like caution, you know, like, what are you doing? Where's the turn? You know, like, how are we doing it? And he's like, okay, backseat driver. But, you know, I did tell him that I got out of the accident, and it was, you know, like me trying to shock my system, you know, and also just like get out of my head and the space that COVID has put everybody in, you know?
Right. Yeah. So I think that's a big.
Oh no, you're cutting out.
Show, right? Mm-hmm. You're cutting out. Am I? Is it me or is it you? I can hear you pretty good. I think I've got good Wi-Fi right now. Well, so what I was going to say is, you know, I even remember back to the first episode, and I mentioned even in the first episode about wellness being not just, you know, our keeping up our physical bodies, right, but also of our mental health. And it's interesting, as this show has evolved and things have happened in our lives, I find it to be incredibly mentally healthy for me personally, just talking to you and just hearing, you know, just having somebody that we have this kind of regular dialogue going. I find it really freeing and nourishing. And it's like there's things that we've talked about that I don't feel like there's anywhere else in my world that it fits, right? So it's cool. This show has become a place for me to plug in certain things that want to come through, want to come out. And girl, I mean, I have to tell you, it was the craziest trip for me, because you got into this accident, and I was like, I remember that when I got the text from you that you were in an accident, I was at a drive-in show in Denver, like trying to have fun, and like it was my first time being in like at like an event with people, and it was like one of those things where like you go in and you drive, and then you have like another parking space, so it was completely COVID like design, and I wasn't really socializing with other people. I was just kind of hanging with the people that I was with there. But I remember when you texted me you were in an accident, I was like not in the party mode anymore. I was like immediately like, oh my God, my friend Dahlia, like, is she okay? Like it was a big deal for me, and it really hit me how much you mean to me and how much I love you. And I wanted to make sure to express my gratitude for you in my life. And I think that COVID in general, but also things like this that are happening that are really like, you know, traumatic, scary, potential life and death situations remind us how much we love people and how much they mean to us.
I wanted, and that was what was so sad, was like in my head, I was like, I'm going to go see Brielle in Colorado after I do this. And then it was just like, and I was like, right, okay.
Yeah, I remember you saying you wanted to come visit me too. And I've thought a lot about coming back to California, but it's just been such a wild adventure here. I've been making my glass art again.
Saw that.
And so cool. I've been really focused on that. And so I'm excited to share my, so this is a mermaid tail. This is like my signature item. So it's the first, this way, it looks black, but it's actually like this sparkle, really dark sparkle, like galaxy green blue.
Yeah, I have really cool nails going on right now.
Ooh, yeah, same kind of vibe. Yeah. And so I've been doing my glass art again with a good friend of mine who's known as like kind of this baller glass artist from the Big Island. You can find him on Instagram, Black Sand Glass. He has been opening his heart and his home and his studio space to me to be able to start doing glass art again, which honestly, girl, this is the biggest deal in my life because, you know, I lost my, so in 2014, between 2015 and 2016, I had learned how to do glass art. I was living and making glass art almost every day. And I had this pretty successful run on Etsy where I sold like pretty much everything I ever listed on Etsy. And so I was really, for somebody who's been doing glass art as long as I have, I was very successful in the types of work that I was making at the time and selling it. And I was really excited by this idea of being this artist. And then I had some big life changes happen. I ended up splitting up from my partner, who was the person who actually taught me to do glass art. And this was in 2016. And then in 2016, I actually lost my home in a house fire after the breakup, right? So I had this massive breakup in September and I moved into my own place. Actually, the breakup was in August, and then in September, I moved into my own place for the first time in 2 years. And I had all this inventory, but I didn't have like a way to continue doing glass art because it was, I was doing that with my partner and it was part of our home and our life. We had this home studio. And so I hadn't really figured out how to continue making art, but I had a bunch of stuff to sell, right? So I was still kind of in the game. And then in February, right? So in September, we moved. So September, 6 months later in February, I actually lost my entire home, not to a glass blowing incident, but just to a fire in the mountains. It's interesting because we have so much going on with fires. And so I feel like it's really important for me to communicate to my audience and to your audience that I actually do know what it's like to lose everything in a fire. It happened on February 6, 2016. And it was—
Where were you when it happened?
It was in the mountains in Boulder, above Boulder. And it wasn't due to a forest fire. It was due to the heater in my space. I was living in a recording studio apartment that had a pellet stove. And the stove was installed into the building incorrectly. And the building had some other, there was some other issues that made it like, it wasn't fire code. And I was actually living in this space helping, my rent was going to help finish the renovation of the space. So it was kind of I lived and learned. I was really young and I needed a really affordable place to live. And the space was really beautiful. It was in the mountains and it was actually my favorite place I've ever lived. And it was a really sacred place. I saw lynx there one time outside my window, this bobcat looking thing outside my window. And I had all these really spiritual, shamanic animal medicine journey experiences there. But ultimately, that space claimed most of my belongings that I had brought with me here to Colorado. I had a few very, very small amount of stuff that was in a separate building on the property that I was living on. Most of my stuff was lost. I didn't have any pets at the time and no one else lived in the building. So it was, it was okay. No one died, but I lost everything and I had to kind of reinvent myself. And so people who are dealing with loss of things in a fire, I think that's something that would be cool to share a little bit about. I also wanted to share a recipe for, I mentioned this, I was going to recipe for clearing your lungs if having lung congestion, COVID, or anything going on. There's a lot of dust and smoke and pollutants in the air. I would like to share this recipe for wellness. But one thing I was going to share too is that losing my belongings at the time was the hardest thing. And I don't want to, I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's a good thing your house burned down, because in the moment, it's like the hardest thing ever. And so I want it, but I share that because I want people to know that they could reach out to me and have a person to talk to about the experience if they have lost their homes or had some sort of traumatic fire experience, because I believe that that's part of the sacred work I'm actually supposed to be doing in the world. And it's come to me several times that because I've had this experience and there's so many more people right now with all the fires going on, there's so many more people.
Like a hotline you can join or something, or like get
it's interesting. I don't actually know of any I've lost my stuff in a fire organizations. I'm sure they exist, but I kind of feel like maybe that's what I'm supposed to create, is like some sort of like support group for fire victims, and just like maybe even like a circle where you can talk about it, because that's something that I know has really helped me, has been being able to communicate. I was in psychotherapy for 2 years. I found an amazing sliding scale therapist, right? Which is really hard to find. It's really hard to find a therapist that you can say like, I don't have money, but I really need treatment, and they'll let you pay, you know, $10 or $20 or whatever you can afford. And so but I found somebody like that. And that's another thing, is I have a lot of great resources. So if you're looking for help or support, I really want to help people mentally who are going through trauma. That's a big part of the work I think people need, and people need to hear that you know, there are people you know can help you. But what I want to say is that ultimately losing all my stuff in that fire was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it allowed me to, here's why, it allowed me to consciously create and co-create, right? So here you and I were co-creating with this show, but I also do my own solo creation, right? With my artwork and things like this. It allowed me to consciously create and co-create a new reality for myself that is in alignment with my values in a deeper and more meaningful way. Okay, so that's a really powerful statement, right?
The dogs went off after you said that.
What is that all about? Okay, well, Dahlia, what's happening with our earth right now, with the toxicity and the pollution and the, you know, the fast fashion, is people are not consciously creating and in a space of conscious co-creation. This is a really important thing that we have to, as humanity, move into, is a space of conscious creation and co-creation, meaning we don't just consume for the sake of consumption. We consume with intention, right? So when I'm buying something at the store, I'm buying it to serve a purpose in my reality, and it has a place and a meaning, right? Yeah. And it's something I'm using, or it's a tool, or it's something that I need this. And what happens is people in modern society, what happens is things like death, right? Your grandma dies and you inherit all of her heirlooms, and you end up with a bunch of stuff that you actually didn't consciously choose. It came to you through the natural cycle, right? But you didn't consciously choose to go to take on a lot of this stuff, right? And I hesitate to use the word crap or junk, you know, but like that's what happens to modern day adults, is we end up with a bunch of stuff that we're like, how did we get all this stuff? And then we have to have things like storage units. We have to have things like homes to keep all of our stuff, right? And it's this conscious keeping of stuff that we unconsciously received that's causing a bog and a congestion in our auric field and in our energy fields, right? It becomes a weight in our reality that prevents us. It can prevent us. It can also, there's things you can do, right? You could take all grandma's antiques you inherited and start a really successful antique business, and then use, you know, money you're making to donate to charity. Like there's things you can align the misalignment consciously, right? It took you consciously doing that, right? But that's the thing, is we, in this new golden era, this new golden age that I believe we're moving into, it is of massive importance to be in alignment with the material things that we surround ourselves with, because these things create weight in our reality. And it can be positive weight, or it can be a weight that creates dissonance and prevents us, right? So like, for example, my dream has always been to move to a tropical island. From the time I was a young girl, I was plastering walls of my bedroom and vision boarding whole walls in my room, ocean themed calendars. I was ripping apart the ocean calendar from last year and making a vision board of my whole room. My whole room was a vision board when I was a kid. And looking back on this, I was less conscious about what I was doing, but I'm conscious now of what the meaning of that was, and also the gift that the fire was, right? So what was the download I got after the fire was, go to Hawaii. You're free of stuff. Who can move? How hard is it?
Wow, really cleared it for you.
Right. So think about it. When you have no stuff, it's easy to move to an island. You got your house burned down. Great. Finally, you can move to Fiji like you've always wanted, This is the kind of thing that.
So did you end up moving to an island?
So no, actually. I did not end up moving to an island. And there's actually, it's an interesting part of my story. I actually wrote a blog post at one point in time about why I didn't run away to about 5 things happened in my reality that begged me to stay in Colorado after the fire. I got this job. I met this best friend. A bunch of different things happened, and it kind of begged me. The universe begged me to stay. But I did end up going to Hawaii, and Hawaii has been a very important symbolic place for me on my spiritual journey. But that's like a whole nother. We can have a whole episode on my connection to Hawaii and Hawaiian huna, right? So this like Hawaiian magic, and also just the magic that has been my journey to Hawaii. My friend that I'm doing glass art with right now, Joel, he's from the Big Island, but he was actually born in Colorado. And so there's actually this really interesting Boulder, Colorado and Hawaii like connection. I have a lot of friends that spend 6 months here in Colorado, 6 months there, and kind of have this jump back and forth lifestyle. So there's some sort of energetic portal there. Yeah, there's some sort of, and I do plan on going to Oahu at some point. But my mom just texted me yesterday. She said 3 vacationers from Colorado that tried to go to Hawaii were turned away. So you can't, unless you want to, you can't just go quarantine. I think you can only go there if you're going to live there or stay there or have some sort of like business to be doing there.
So actually, this girl on my trip, she's from Russia. Her name is Katya. She has been traveling in a suitcase for a month throughout America through couch surfing and like other stuff. I'm like, you're ballsy. You're like, I aspire to be like you. Like, how do I do that? You know what I mean? Like,
well, and not to mention this, okay, but I've couch surfed for years of my life. So I'm fully okay with it. Not like I don't go on like an app and I don't really promote that I do it, but yeah, I've been what I call a digital nomad, which AKA that could be also, my dad thinks when I say digital nomad, my dad thinks couch surfer. So that's an interesting thing. But I want to, but before it gets too late in the show though, I want to make sure people know this magical recipe for clearing your lungs though, since this is our Wellness Wednesday show. And you should take notes on this because I think it would be good for, and this is not just to be used. This also could be used as preventative medicine because all the things in this are incredibly good for you. And if you and they're totally met food, right? So there's this Hippocrates, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And so this recipe comes from my 10-week herbal healing class with world-renowned herbalist Brigitte Mars, who has 13 books on herbalism. She's been a client of mine and dear friend of mine for many years. And I took this, and these are notes from her class that I took. And so what this is actually, it's called, I've started respiratory distress recipe. This is a formula for asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia. It's Rasta medicine. And so I wrote next to it, the key to lung clear. So the recipe is, it's 4 ingredients and 1 ingredient that you don't have to put in, but you can. The recipe is a half a cup of lemon juice. I prefer fresh squeeze and organic. 5 to 12 cloves of chopped minced garlic. 1 inch of fresh ginger root chopped. 1/4 a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And the optional ingredient is half a cup of raw honey.
The cayenne pepper?
Cayenne pepper, yeah, 1/4 of a teaspoon cayenne pepper. I'll go through it again. So the first ingredient is half a cup of lemon juice. And I mentioned that I prefer fresh and organic. 5 to 12 cloves of minced garlic. 1 inch of fresh ginger root chopped up. 1/4 a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And the optional ingredient is 1/2 a cup of raw honey. And you're not supposed to put the honey in if you're serving this to somebody who's less than a year old, because it's not good for them. So that's why that's the optional ingredient. I do like the honey, but I think that the availability of fresh local honey is really what it comes down to. And also just fresh local ingredients, period, organic if you can get them. It can be challenging to get. I know it can be challenging to get organic food in some parts of the country. So, but even just doing this with whatever you have in terms of lemon and ginger, cayenne, and honey, local honey, if you can get it. And so what you're supposed to do with that is you're supposed to blend that up and take 1 spoonful to put this remedy on your feet. And so, yeah, that's kind of the Rasta Medicine lung clear recipe that actually just helped me, as after the month that we've taken off from the show of course, it's so funny. We took a month off from Wellness Wednesday, and what happened? I totally got sick with this lung congestion from breathing this horrible, toxic, polluted air.
What happened to you?
Well, okay, I told you I was partying and I was camping a bunch with my friends, right? So when I go camping and I'm hanging with my homies, we're smoking weed, we're doing, we're maybe doing some tequila shots, mezcal. I was having a good time. My had 2 roommates' birthdays last month. And then another friend, it's just been a month of birthdays and camping adventures. And so I went to Wyoming with a friend for his 34th birthday, and we were having fun. And we got to Wyoming and we were trying to escape the smoke, right? So we were like, okay, where can we go to escape the Colorado smoke? So we went north about 8 hours to Jackson, just north of Jackson, Wyoming. We went to the Grand Teton National Park. So beautiful. The first day we got there was pretty good. The sky was pretty clear. I got some really cool pictures. The picture that I used to promote today's show, I took when the skies were pretty clear that first day. And I'm really glad I took so many pictures wearing the super cool Stay Woken or Not t-shirts that first day, because then the next day the smoke rolled in, and it was honestly kind of disappointing. We went to Grand Teton National Park, and the Tetons were pretty much covered up by smoke. And so after the whole month of August, with all the fires and all the adventuring I was doing, just breathing, campfire air and dirt air and, pollution, my lungs, I had this like kind of congested lung thing going on. And so I whipped open my this is my journal that I keep all my magical recipes and herbal magic tricks in. And I pulled out that recipe, and I every time I use that recipe and complete the regimen, I feel so much more clear in my lungs. And I'm actually just done with doing it for a week, and I'm probably going to do it another jar of it, make another jar of it, because you can take it every day, and it's really good for you. It's good as just like an immune booster, and kind of like if you feel like you're struggling with any kind of chronic condition,
Right.
in the respiratory world, it's really, really good for clearing that. So everybody get that recipe, and maybe I'll also post it in the comments. So I know we're at cool. We've got somebody who says, miss you and love this topic. So awesome. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for me about the lung recipes? And oh, you know what? I also thought it might be interesting to mention, if anyone has questions, feel free to ask. I also thought it would be interesting to share while I've been sharing things in my notebook here. Orange foods support the lungs. So, okay, so I was just going to mention, so in addition to that recipe for clearing the lungs, dark orange veggies are good for supporting the lungs, including winter squash, carrots, sweet peas, beta carotene, or it says beta carotene strengthens lungs. Let's see here.
Winter squash, carrots, beta carotene.
Yep, and your lungs are also associated to grief and expression. So sometimes if you have unexpressed grief, that is part of, and that actually makes sense, right? So because like, what do people do when they're grieving and they're sad? They, a lot of times smoke. And I have to tell you, girl, I'm on day 9, no alcohol, no smoking.
Wow.
I've been doing just edibles. I've been doing edibles. I have been still enjoying cannabis, but just not smoking it. I've been doing no fire, like combusting of anything, of any plant material, tobacco or cannabis. And I'm on day 9, no alcohol. And initially I said to myself, I need to take a 10-day break just to clear my lungs while I'm doing this lung clear regimen. Right. But I don't know. I think I might continue to, I don't know if I'm going to, after 10 days, I might just keep on I might stay on the horse.
Where is it?
Know. But I'm not being super, super strict with it, but I knew after that last month of, it's funny, we haven't been doing Wellness Wednesdays, and my wellness has been lagging, girl.
No! Yeah, I think the same for me. I think after I got out of the accident, I was like, I got in a weird depression. So I don't want to be there anymore. I sometimes forget how much I really do enjoy this show and like what it means to me. And I don't know. But yeah, Seth said, congratulations on sobering up.
It's really an interesting thing. I had I pulled a medicine card in this Medicine Warrior deck that I have, and it basically reminded me how to do and so I think that it's very healthy to do things like cleanses and purification rituals. And sometimes these are very important to the process of integrating medicine work that we may be doing. So I mentioned plant medicine. Sometimes if our body is overstrained, we can take medicine to help us. But if our body is already overloaded, that medicine that we may be doing that may normally be beneficial may not be able to take its full effect. So that was a message that came to me, right? Is you have to, in order for certain plant medicines to really be able to work, sometimes a period of purification is required. And you do hear about this. You hear about people going on things like, if they're going to do like ayahuasca, they go on like what they call like an Aya diet. And so this is a whole thing.
I hate being sober. How do you fight temptation?
So it's interesting. I have been baking. I've been baking up a storm. I'm like, I don't know if I think it's probably because of the angle of the computer, but I'm like, does my face look fat?
Seth, you start baking, okay? This is a
I totally have
recipe. Be sure to include some squash in your muffins.
Well, I've actually been baking my cannabis into my food. And so I've been getting my cannabis that way because I really do believe in the power of personally for me, cannabis and hemp are really important to doing things like keeping my headaches and I have, some different things that I deal with, and cannabis really helps, right? So for aches and pains and, CBD is amazing. I take CBD every day. Shout out to Proper Canna CBD if you're interested in some really good CBD. So that could actually be a good answer. So sometimes if I'm, wanting to smoke, I'll go take CBD, right? So sometimes when you have a trigger for something, you can use the code manifest CBD, all one word, for a discount on Proper Canna naturals.com. So I really like CBD products. And so these are topicals that don't get you high. They're non-psychoactive, but they do have a strong, high level of medicinal hemp and, CBD in the products. Then they have products that you put on your skin. I like their lotion. They have this really nice lavender lotion. They just came out with an arnica gel.
You tagged me in that. Okay, yeah, we need to put that on our Instagram.
So the Manifest CBD is the discount code. So make sure people know. Would you put? So that's a discount code. So if you go on their website, you can buy some of their products with a discount using that code. And what I like is, I think if I get a craving or I'm having a trigger, I replace that with something healthy, right? So if I'm feeling hungry and I know I'm not really hungry, I'm just like sitting on the couch and I'm like craving food, I'll go and drink a huge thing of water. Because a lot of times when we're thirsty, we think we're hungry. So if you're hungry, go drink water. And like, if you're getting a craving to go smoke, it's like, okay, maybe I'm craving that experience of communing with the cannabis plant. It's a healthy experience for me personally. My body likes the medicinal elements of cannabis, but my lungs don't need that extra irritation right now. I need the medicine, but I don't need I'm already breathing this horrible toxic smoke air. I don't need to be smoking and having like in addition to wearing a mask and not getting enough fresh oxygen because you have to wear a mask everywhere we go, right? Like,
when I was in Yosemite, like there was people that were up in the mountains, like 9,000 like altitude with a mask on. And in my head, I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh, and additionally, my mom and I have actually been talking about vitamin D.
Okay.
And how awesome vitamin D is. So this really has been a great Wellness Wednesdays. We've talked about a lot of wellness things. So my mom and I have been talking about vitamin D, and I want to actually share the stats she told me about. She shared me some information.
She shared me some info.
She said,
she shared me some info. You guys, stay tuned. Thanks you guys for joining. I know this is not our normal time segment. So.
So she shared with me some interesting statistics over the last few days, and I think she would be this new research. 52% of young adults ages 8 to 29 are living with their parents right now, all racial groups, urban and rural. So what that means is that the coronavirus pandemic has caused a massive amount of people in our age group, right, 18 to 29, to go move back home and help their parents. Either maybe their parents lost their jobs and they're helping their parents pay bills. Maybe the kid lost the job. Maybe the family is just like scared and wants to be together during this time. I think that was a big thing for me and my mom. My mom was challenged with some other health, non-COVID related health things. And I was actually scared when this whole thing went down. I was like, I need to go be with her and go live with her because if anything was to happen, I would need to be there. And so that was kind of my initial response to COVID, was to go live with my mom. And I know that, you mentioned couch surfing, you're living this digital nomad kind of artist lifestyle. I call it an artist lifestyle because a lot of my artist friends, no matter how successful they are, and so many successful artists right now are out of work because of COVID. So this is a very real thing that we're dealing with. Okay, so another statistic she said about vitamin D. She said 40% of Americans are vitamin D deficient.
Wow.
And she said she was totally shocked to learn how low she was because she spends so much time outdoors. She said it's in dairy, egg yolk, and fatty fish, tuna, salmon, trout. And she said, I was first diagnosed in 2012 by a blood test. I was still eating dairy and egg then, and she was sailing. So she was going outside in the sunlight. Last time she had a physical, 2017 or 18, I was still low. So she's been conscious that she had a deficiency and increased eating the foods that give it to you and doing outdoor activity. And she's still vitamin D deficient. And so what that means is that people are really, and think about it, you get this from the sunlight and you get this from certain foods and some of those foods, a lot of people are allergic to. I don't eat eggs or dairy. Those are the two big no-nos for me in my diet. And I eat fish, but not every day. I mean, fish is expensive for most people to be able to eat fish every day. And if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, all three of those food groups are out. So
do you even eat eggs though?
What was that?
You don't even eat eggs?
No, so eggs are like, eggs really are one of that's like actually the number one food that my body like rejects. So with dairy, it makes me feel sick. It congests me, right? So it just causes my body to produce more mucus, which if you're already having an over congestion issue due to pollutants like pollen and dust in the air, so all of this is where our wellness show gets really interesting with me, because I'm kind of my own little biohacking experiment over here. And as I've been away from the show the last month, I've been going like, wow, I really miss sharing. I like know so many like weird things about your body. And I've been doing some body work and energy work just with some of my close friends and family here. And I've been getting this like feedback, like, wow, you should do this for a living. And so I feel very pushed towards my artwork with the glass art that I'm doing, but also towards my healing art, right? So I think of healing as an art form. And so, I know we're coming up on an hour here, but I just wanted to just express gratitude for people who are healing artists, because I think it's a really admirable and noble thing to do.
I want to share like different recipes where like,
I was thinking that, so moving forward, like I have this whole journal of like awesome wellness information, and I'm like, well, I need to like share more of my own wisdom on the show, and and I've been baking so many cool vegan treats and desserts. So I thought that might be a cool thing we could start doing, is sharing like healthy recipes and things that we're cooking up, and what we're doing to navigate wellness. Like, for me right now, it's sobriety, which has been, well, it's interesting because I don't necessarily, this is a question for everyone in the audience, I don't necessarily think I am sober if I'm still consuming cannabis, because cannabis is a psychoactive plant, so I'm not really claiming that I'm sober, but I have let go of two things that I feel were unhealthy for me.
Mm-hmm.
At the it's kind of like you have to figure out that equilibrium of your body, right? So if you have heavy stress in certain areas, adding additional stress to that area in knowingly is just not a good idea, right? So if there's tons of ash and pollutants in the air and you're smoking too and you're sensitive, you're just asking for it. You're asking to get sick, and you don't want to be sick right now because if you cough, people freak out and they think you have COVID-19, even if you have allergies, you know? So this is just really what we're navigating right now is like, wow, this is where we are. And wow, what a humbling time to be asked to look ourselves in the mirror and take care of ourselves. So anyway.
We covered a lot of ground.
I know. So,
yeah, but I think it would be fun if you did a baking recipe and then told me to do it and then see how bad I suck at it and then your dish to mine.
We could have like a bake off where we both make the same recipe and share photos on our Facebook, and here's Dahlia's version and here's Brielle's version. That would be really fun.
Yeah, but I definitely want to expand my knowledge on just like the vitamins, like the history of it, and like, you know, the concoctions that people can make that are, you know, holistic and, you know, things of that nature. We need more of those, Pete.
We do.
We're going to have a tarot reader. Her name is Jada Taylor. She's with Miracle Drip World. She has like creating her own brand. Which is really exciting. And then so we want to bring in a tarot reader and like, you know, kind of like have some call-ins and stuff, like get your tarot read. So
yeah, I really want to continue with this show, Dahlia. And I know it's been a long summer and it actually snowed last night. Today I woke up to snow here. So it feels like it's already fall, and like more than that, it's already like funny. It's like I feel like I'm being like vortex through to winter very quickly. And my intention was to have as much fun and do as much adventuring I could this summer, but I feel now very like slapped into it's no longer summer. Like you need to, you know, kind of launch your fall program. And my intention for this fall is to get really responsible for my life, right? And just to really show up. And it doesn't matter, like for me, showing up is more important than how you show up. Yeah, how you show up is important, but for me, how I show up is easy after showing, like the hard part is showing up, right? So, and we've had a really beautiful, I think, month of time to like step away, and I just really feel strongly now that now is our time to really like because as the fall continues, I think people really want wellness tips and want health and wellness ideas and recipes, don't you think?
I do. Let's get it lined up.
So let's go live next week. And I think what would be cool too is if we, at the end of each show, I have a new idea. I think for each show, we should think of what next week's theme should be and have like a theme for each show. Today, I thought the theme was growth, but I think it was a lot of things. It was like death and lung clearing. But I think just to like kind of, if we want to call in energy, right, it makes sense to like kind of hold, what do we want next week to be about? And so as I'm looking into the future, go into your crystal ball, right? As I see into the future.
Go ahead.
I've been doing a lot of like research online. And so we've got these cool t-shirts. You're wearing the baseball tee today. I should have worn the baseball tee. I don't have mine with me where I am right now, but I posted the pictures of me. I love fashion, and I love this idea of this material. We sort of touched on it today. This idea of this material world, right? We're living in. I'm creating art that's physical, and we've got these cool t-shirts. I love the idea of like somehow talking about fashion and the health, wellness and health related to the fashion industry. We haven't really ever talked about that. And I think that's a really interesting topic that we could potentially have a guest on. So if you're interested in talking about fashion and wellness and health in the fashion industry, and I really want to have a platform for talking about I had this vision of creating a fashion line, but I'm so terrified by the industry of fashion and how toxic for the environment it is, and all these different like kind of negative, kind of ugly, dark sides of fashion. And I think it would be cool to talk about that and have that be the theme and go into that, and also talk about our t-shirts and kind of promote our shirts. And really I'll make sure to wear my shirt next week. How's that sound?
Yeah. How dare you? Yes.
So we're calling in you if you're a fashion guru or want to talk about health and wellness inside of the fashion industry, health and wellness of the fashion industry. I think that would be a really cool.
All right. We have our new prospect. We have 13.
Next week. And so next week too, what day is that? So the show is going to be on, so the 16th, September 16th. And that'll be close to our birthday too. So
I know.
Actually, so that is kind of like our birthday show. So I think you should also wear I'm going to wear my shirt since it's our fashion episode, and we should also wear some sort of interesting accessory. So like a cool, just since it's the fashion episode. What do you think?
I like it. We gotta bring somebody else on. But thank you. This was much needed. Sending love.
Episode 9. Stay woke. See you guys next week.